On the Friday edition of Real Talk with Keith Smith. I miss my friend Keith Smith.
I miss you. We were supposed to have two awesome guests today, but we had a little bit of a travel snafu, so it is Stump Smith Day today.
A lot to cover. August 5th, right around the corner.
August 5th is around the corner, so we'll talk a little bit about, I've got asked a couple of questions about what does decoupling actually mean, but look, you know, for my fellow real estate agents out there, go ahead and ask away. Nothing's off the table. I'm probably going to screw it up anyway.
No.
So ask anyway. And I threw a little thing in the Facebook post. For those who are watching, I'm doing a presentation in September to all the leading CEOs in our industry. And the topic they want me to cover is improving real estate perception problem, how to raise the bar on professionalism.
I think that's a good topic.
And I love some feedback because I'm going to take whatever feedback I get and put it in my presentation.
Viewers and listeners, like and share the show, the Friday edition of Real Talk with Keith Smith.
I may be on too much coffee.
Great to be with you guys. If you want to join us in the conversation, please do. Neil Williamson, hello. Georgia Gilmer, Spencer Pushar, Donna Price, hello. David Donovan, Stephanie Wells Rhodes, Dean Russell, Jesse Rutherford, Ginny Hu, hello. We appreciate you guys. Give the show a like and a share anywhere you're watching. Lisa Costello, Philip Dowd, Tom Powell, Liza Borchis, Ray Cadell, Seth Liskey, the Stantonian real estate investor, Andre Xavier. We got the who's who of Charlottesville watching Keith Smith on Real Talk with Keith Smith. J-Dubs, I'm seeing us live on LinkedIn. Things look good there. Live on Twitter. Things look good there.
Do we call it Twitter or X?
Jody Mills. I still call it Twitter. Jody Mills, we appreciate you as well. Good on the group, Judah. Good on I Love Seville, Judah. Good on my Facebook page, J-Dubs. We good on Keith Smith's Facebook page. And we'll take a look right here in a matter of moments. I think we can rock and roll with this program on a glorious and gorgeous day to be alive. Amen. Glorious and gorgeous.
Amen.
J-Dubs, my friend, count us in.
Quiet on set.
Good Friday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and thank you kindly for joining us on Real Talk with Keith Smith, a show presented by Yes Realty Partners, a boutique agency who's proven to be on the cutting edge of this profession we call real estate in a number of ways. Yes Realty Partners online at yesrealtypartners.com. One of the principals of the brokerage, Keith Smith, is the star of today's program, Real Talk with Keith Smith, and his flagship website, realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. Judah Wickhauer behind the camera. A lot to cover on the program. Professionalism in the profession we call real estate. The decoupling of commissions around the corner on the 5th of August. Interest rates are dropping. Values are escalating. The buyer pool is deepening. So many storylines and trends.
But
on Real Talk with Keith Smith. Judah Wickhauer, studio camera, then our
but
star.
With the interest rate dropping, it's interesting. Is the tempo picking up? I'm not so sure the tempo is picking up. It feels kind of weird out there right now in the market.
I've heard from some of your other colleagues that they're feeling a little slowing of pace and tempo.
Yeah, and you would think.
I chalk it up to summer break.
I think that
summer travel.
But I think that's starting to cycle itself out, right? I think the school ended, people hit the road, we're getting dangerously close to August on it. I think Fluvanna County goes back on August 14th.
Yeah.
When does Albemarle go back?
I couldn't tell you Albemarle County. I do know the 20th of August, our son is back in the classroom, much to the delight and happiness of his mother.
I got to tell you.
We love him dearly. But
get the hell out of the house.
It's time to go back to school.
Right. I remember those days all too well. It's It may have been a few decades ago, but I do.
There's not a countdown clock in our kitchen or anything like that for when school starts again. I swear, Keith.
Hold it! I saw your phone. There's a countdown clock on your phone. Yeah, I think that's it, and I think some of this is kind of cyclical. I've done a bunch of reading on this about the elections. You know, forget about the insanity of what's going on, but just historically, there's generally a little bit of a slowdown before the election because, you know, everybody's what's going to happen, who's going to get elected. And then statistically after that, it tends to pick back up. I've been talking about this for a while. I think you're going to see a softer than normal third quarter, but I think fourth quarter you're gonna pick back up. But, you know, I've been proven wrong on a couple occasions, but generally I get it pretty darn close.
And we need to highlight the interest rate drop so far is
Marginal.
it's not significant.
It's marginal.
Yeah, it's not enough to necessarily move the needle
Marginal.
for a lot of folks
It's
that had the COVID rates, historical low rates to.
Yeah, but we're knock for mica or wood or whatever we want to do. We're lucky. We've been very.
You guys are humming.
We've been very busy.
Got some great listings coming on the market too.
We've been very busy with listings and sales, and all our partners are as busy as can be. That just could be cyclical. Sometimes you catch a cycle, and sometimes you don't. And all that stuff. But it's all about our business is all about relationships, and some of these relationships are starting to click off. But as of the last 7 days going back, we're at 56 new units, new homes that came on the market. If you remember a month ago or 2 months ago, that number was close to 100, right? So we're very darn close to half of what was happening back at the tail end of the beginning of the second quarter and the tail end of the second quarter. And pendings are around 63, so still more are going pending than are coming on the market in a 7-day window. But the volume is definitively softening a little bit. The tempo is softening.
Values aren't dropping.
Values are not. We covered this, I think, was on the last show we were on. Lake Monticello's a little soft right now.
Yeah.
Year over year, but I think that's a blip. I think you're going to see.
I think is maybe one of the few that we can point to that's the case.
Yeah, of the
And
research
car
I've done, and somebody can chime in and tell me otherwise. That's the little soft. The other side of the hill's a little soft. First 6 months versus this year versus last year on it, but I think a lot of that's the price point, and that's where 7% or the higher interest rates impacts the most. And as these rates start trickling down a little bit, I think you're going to start seeing that tempo upticking. And then when we do the show for the end of the third quarter, I think you're going to see a more balanced number as far as Lake Monticello goes. We dropped down. When we did the show, it was in the 20s. Now it's down to 15.
I saw.
17.
I noticed. I follow it very closely. What's interesting is the million plus category. The tempo is strong. Deals happening.
It's strong. I'm in that market at the moment. I've got a bunch of buyers in that market right now. A lot of homes are a little long on the tooth. By COVID standards.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But not by the normal standards on it. So it's the home's a little bit on the market. We get asked questions why they are on the market, and some of it is timing. A lot of it is that buyer profile, particularly where we're looking at for these clients is between Charlottesville and Crozet, which is quite a few. We got several buyers doing that because they want to get the kids into school. So that tempo is going to start picking up here pretty quickly. I think by the time next week, it's going to feel a lot different.
Jody Mills, thank you
Jody.
kindly for watching and interacting with the program.
Great to see you and your hubby at Tavola last Friday.
And viewers and listeners, let us know your thoughts. We'll relay them live on air. Jason Howard, hello. Brittany Gray, hello. Kevin Yancey, Joanne Mackey, hello. Thank you for watching the program. Juan Sarmiento. Folks, happy that Keith Smith is back in the saddle.
Thank you. I love it. Love being here, man. I love being here. I love being with you. I was really hopeful that we would have two awesome guests.
Do you want to highlight that?
We want to reschedule
We
it.
kind of teased it a little bit.
I teased it a little bit, but I was asked not to. So,
Okay, totally.
So I'm gonna respect respect
Totally.
that and let that be their story to tell. But look, I've been asked multiple times this week what's going to happen on the 5th of August. I believe the sun's going to come up, and then the sun's going to set.
The sun is going to do that. It's not going to be the end of the world.
It's not going to be the end of the world. That's the point I'm trying to get at. And look, we've had so much of a heads up on this. The pros got this worked out, how they're going to work it out in the way they do business.
Is it a non-story?
That's what Yona was saying. Do you really want to talk about this today?
It's a non-story. Judah, you need Keith to do something. Is that what you need to do to authorize something?
Could you check your Facebook on your phone?
Yeah, or why don't you unlock your phone and pass it on to J-Dubs? That would be the easiest. Just jump in next time if we need to do that. So that's the question I have for you. Is it a non-story?
It depends on who you talk to.
Yeah.
I think as far as
I think you guys have it buttoned up.
Absolutely.
You've been way ahead of this.
Way ahead of it. I think as far as the general public is concerned, I think this is a non-story. I really do. I think the general public, at the end of the day, so let's set the stage, right, for those who might not know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So on August 5th, Charlottesville Area Association of Realtors, which to their credit, they're getting ahead of the curve because the official date is the 17th. So they're getting ahead of the curve, so gives us a little bit more time to get through the learning process on it. But the buyer broker compensation cannot be anywhere.
The 5th?
The 5th.
The
So
5th?
on the
Yeah.
5th of August, on Monday the 5th of August, when you open up Paragon, when I open up Paragon and look at your listing or an agent's listing, there's going to be no reference at all to what the seller is prepared or not prepared to pay for a buyer broker compensation. So it's been called up into this point with co-brokerage, right? They've changed the names around a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's what the seller is prepared to pay the buyer broker to make the transaction happen, to bring a buyer. So that is going to be nowhere in this, what I'm looking at right now, nowhere in the MLS, nowhere in that. And it's interesting because I've got a couple of articles here, and I was part of a couple of national conversations, group calls this week. DOJ Department of Justice does not want us to put it anywhere. They don't want us to put it in private websites, on Facebook, and they're going to be pushing that button real hard. The other thing for my fellow real estate agents out there, DOJ will send out testers. So if you're going to try to shortchange this, you're going to get caught. And more importantly,
A tester?
yeah.
Like a secret shopper?
Secret shopper. Well,
Yeah.
they do this now for fair housing, right? But they're going to send out buyers and find out, if you're a tester, and if I don't get my buyer broker agreement put together on you before we start showing houses, bam, we're going to get nailed. The conversation along the water cooler is how is this going to get enforced? So first of all, it's going to get enforced, I think, internally, like we're going to be working together, the pros, the agents. But Jerry, we're in the billions with a B on how much money has been paid out on this. Settlements.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no doubt in my mind, and it's just not me, it's these pretty smart people from around the country. These attorneys, they're gonna do their own testing.
100%.
Because there's too much money on the table.
Yeah, 100%.
And what's going to happen is if I try to change this thing and do this, I'm personally going to get sued.
I think that's going to happen, yeah.
And then that's when my E&O insurance goes, I'm not protecting you.
Yeah.
And so this, as far as the industry is concerned, if you don't play by the rules, the potential, the downside potential is pretty high. But look, this is when the pros show up. And I'll kind of stop at this, and then we'll just move on to a different topic. This is when the pros show up. What'll happen on Monday, if I want to show your listing, I got to pick up the phone and call you and say, Jerry, what is your seller offering? And then we'll have a conversation. We'll get through this because we're professionals. We'll make sure the documentation is right, my buyer broker's right, my listing agreements are right, my contracts are right, and we will move through. As far as the non-story goes, all I think buyers and sellers want to do, buyers want to get a home and be represented and not get taken advantage of. Sellers want their home sold and do that. And everybody, none of this is going to change how I think, how actual real estate is going to trade. It's going to be how we communicate as a profession. This is why the question I've got to answer in September is how to raise the bar on professionals.
Comments coming in.
Oh,
this is
look
a
at that.
topic. Comments are coming in. First, let's go to Woody Fincham,
Hey, Woody.
key member of this Real Talk with Keith Smith family.
Without him, we wouldn't be sitting here having a conversation. So thank you for supporting us.
Woody Fincham says, please relay that commissions are not, nor will they ever be, concessions and should not be reported as such.
Yeah, so he's speaking about that from he can clarify this, but I think he's speaking about this from an appraiser's perspective on it. Yeah, but it's, we're going to get through this. The attorneys, the closing agents are on top of it. The firms hopefully have had all their coaching and training done. We've had enough run up to it. I'm sure there's going to be some hiccups in it, but the simple answer is, Jerry, on August 5th, I got to pick up the phone and call you because I need to know that. And then the question becomes, if you're at zero, what's the conversation I'm going to have?
That's the question that's in the feed right now.
Yeah.
How many are at zero? Are you seeing any at zero for
Well,
buyer brokers?
So that's very interesting. So right now I can look at it. On August 5th, I can't. Right? So at the moment, I'd have to take a look at it real quickly, which I can do.
Just back.
But I follow it closely. Very few zeros. Very few zeros. I'm looking at the 7 that came on. There's 2. The 56 that came on. Hold on a second. I will be able to tell you that because I have this set up with. Yeah, there's none at zero. There's none at zero of the what came on in the last seven days, right? There's a 1, right? There's 1.5 and 2. So the big question is, right? If it's 0, how do I handle this as a buyer broker agreement, right? Buyer broker.
That's where your client's going to come in.
Well, look, I tend to oversimplify things. It's pretty simple. I'm not making that phone call to get information from the seller's agent, or we're not going into that until we have our buyer broker agreement done. And our buyer broker agreement is very clear. It tells me what my job is, what I'm doing for you, right, and how my compensation gets broken down. Simple. Everybody should have been doing it. That's been part of the problem, that it was not done up until now. So I'm going to talk to Jerry, and I'm going to go, Jerry, okay, you want to go see Judah's house, right? I called the agent. It's at 0. So, Jerry, this is your decision to make, right? My agency, I'm going to show you the house one way or the other, but this is your decision to make. And understand this, if we go in there and you want to buy this and all this great stuff and they're at 0, either I've got to negotiate that in there, which we can do, or at the closing table, you're going to pay my fee because that's what we agreed to in the buyer broker agreement. Jerry, are you good with open to going and looking at that house? Yes, I'm good. Okay, great, then we're good. If the answer is no, then I say, okay, so, what would you like to do, Jerry? Would you like to go see the house or would you not? But understand
that if you love it,
if you
and
love
you
it,
want to buy it,
and you want to buy it,
you owe me this.
you owe me this.
Yeah.
I'm oversimplifying it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, Yona and I are having a debate about this, this is really more pressure on the seller side and the listing side than the buying side, because it's going to be pretty clear and outlined. The question becomes, from the seller's side, do I offer compensation or not? Right? Do I offer a buyer broker or not? And that's a tougher conversation to have with the seller, to understand that, hey, the reality could be the scenario I just outlined.
I would say you are shortchanging your listing without offering that.
Somebody once told me this. A really smart guy.
You don't step over dollars to pick up nickels.
I thought you said pennies, but okay,
Yeah.
nickels. Inflation, right?
I mean, we could say, how about this?
No, inflation.
You don't
Inflation,
step
I got
over. You don't step over hundreds of thousands of dollars to pick up $5,000-$6,000.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And we do our jobs, and we earn, what we do. So, that's been a question asked a lot. There's a lot of agents out there that are, concerned about what do I do, and of course, talk to your broker, right? Because everything funnels through your broker. But
How is the more litigious real estate ecosystem impacting brokerage leaders and how or who they align with?
So it's really interesting. So I'm going to interpret what you said. What you're going to start seeing a lot more of in the next, it's already started, but I think in the next 12 to 24 months, and probably staying within the 12-month period, you're going to see a lot of what they call M&As, mergers and acquisitions. Because if you're a small boutique brokerage and you don't have the compliance system or the E&O insurance, chutzpah, due to your size, it can become extremely expensive on it. So you're going to see some variations of mergers and acquisitions. By the way, every hiccup every change in the market that happens 2007 and 8 and 9, that's what happened. There were these mergers and acquisitions. You're going to see some bigger companies try to acquire smaller companies. But the small brokerage should do well. The middle-sized brokerages might be a little challenging.
Logan Wells Claylow, welcome to the show.
Hey,
Why do you
Logan.
say
Hey.
that?
Well, it's just navigating what I've outlined, right? The compliance, right? You're going to have to make sure everything. Not that we didn't have to do that before, but the intensity of having
This is going to pick up.
document everything and have everything there, because there will be testers, there will be people. The state will send out folks to start auditing their documentation and making sure all this stuff is in order. I think you're going to see the associations pick up the pace, because at the end of the day, the local associations are really on the hook to enforce this, because that's what NAR did. It shoved it downhill and literally said Godspeed to you on it. So literally, that's what they said in the meeting. So you'll see the level of scrutiny and review go up. And if you don't have the organizational structure to do that, it'll be difficult. It'll be difficult. It can't be done, but it'll be difficult.
Joseph Gentile, welcome to the broadcast. We
Hey,
love you, Joe Gentile.
brother from another mother. I miss talking to you.
I haven't seen Joe Gentile in a minute. I miss you, Joe Gentile, as well. You are a
Pizza.
fantastic individual. Bill McChesney, welcome to the broadcast.
Happy belated birthday, Bill. Happy birthday to you, my
You
friend.
have a number of your colleagues watching you on Real Talk with Keith Smith right now.
Good. Do they got anything to say?
Do you-
Are they saying, Smith, you're full of you know what?
No, I don't. At least that's not what I'm seeing. Andy Zeman in the mortgage business also watching the program. We appreciate you, Andy.
It's interesting. We've got to get Andy on, because and another mortgage lender, if we can put it together, just to talk about it from their perspective, right? Is it a huge change from their perspective in what they do? And what I'm seeing at the moment is the answer is no. So I just really don't think this is going to have a huge impact on the general public. Look, let's face it, Jerry. There's more buyers than product. Buyers, are trying to make a deal happen. They need a pro to help them to get across the table. The sellers, on the other hand, just want to sell their home, right? And again, I think at the market level, this is going to have very little impact. It will have impact on the professions and our level of number of professionals in the industry. Look at that! I can't even speak English today. I'm going to have coffee.
I think you're doing fantastic. The DC trip, when you're speaking to C-suite leaders in the industry, the gist of the presentation is about upping the level of professionalism in the industry.
So I'll set the stage for that. So this particular panel, I'm on several, but this particular panel has multiple owners of brokerages, agents in the industry from all over the country. We've got California, Washington, New York, Florida, Tennessee, Virginia. And we're going to actually be speaking to all the C-suite, as you said, the CEOs of our industry, and the mortgage industry is going to be there. It's in downtown DC. So again, I'm part of this. One of the panels is how do we raise the bar of professionalism? And I think that's an important topic from my perspective to talk about. And I wanted to throw this out to the folks watching and viewing on it to give me feedback, right? I've already got some awesome feedback back from, some rock stars in our industry, local industry on what it is. And it seems that, and most of them wanted to remain anonymous. Lucky Smith, I'm the one that gets out here.
Because you're good at it.
I love doing it.
Yeah.
But
Ricardo Cruz Duran and Tom Powell, we love you.
Hey, love you guys. So I think the half a dozen, 8 feedback I got at this point is that we need to hold each other accountable as an industry.
You guys are doing that. That certainly has picked up.
I think that has picked up.
100%.
I think this lawsuit and what's happening at this point, the level of professionalism is being risen on its own. But there was a specific topic that I was asked in a conference call yesterday. What do you do on Facebook, as we're on Facebook?
Yeah, on all social platforms.
And I make a rather, let's just say I talk badly about another agent. I'm talking.
That happens every day.
Well, so in theory, not in theory, in reality, that's a violation of an ethics code, right? But I'm not talking bad. I'm talking about, really obscene kind of stuff,
okay.
Right? I'm not saying, whatever it is, but what it raises to a level of, pretty nasty stuff. But that's
Mazi Vogler, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mazi, that's a violation of Article 10 of the ethics thing. And the question was asked of me, so what do I do? How do we deal with this? How do we address this? And my personal opinion is, and I'm different, if Jerry's going to trash me on Facebook, guess what I'm going to do?
Probably eye for an eye.
No, I'm going to go find Jerry and go, what the hell's going on? Right? What's going on? Now, most folks don't do that. In my circumstance, I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to call whoever. I'm going to say, what's up? What did I do? This kind of thing. If they don't, then, the process to go through it, and Woody knows this, an ethics charge is a very laborious process. And this call we had yesterday, and this is just not little old me. These are brokers that have, 1,000 agents, these huge brokerage. They feel that one of the things that could happen is to make the ethics process a little bit easier, right? Something silly like an anonymous notation or something along those lines where we can go and do that. But in order for us, I think, to raise the level of professionalism for the public, we need to start looking inward and taking care of holding each other accountable to that. I think, and over time, the level of professionalism will increase. But the feedback I got was, well, so-and-so said something nasty about me on Facebook. What do I do? And my answer was to pick up the phone and call them.
Hi back to you, Mazi. She says hello.
Hey, hi, Mazi.
Should get her on the program.
Mazi's always welcome. She knows that. We talk all the time. She's always welcome. Trying to get the schedules to work because she's a rock star unto herself and staying a little busy. But Mazi, if you want to do it anonymous,
Kate Charts, hello.
I get it, but how, in your opinion, how are we going to raise the bar of our professionalism in our industry?
I think you guys are doing it. I think you're doing it.
Now, if we're doing it, it's awfully slow. Yeah. Well,
I think the last year has risen the bar of professionalism.
Well, yeah. So I don't disagree with that. I think it's gotten a lot better with this conversation.
Within the last 12 to 18 months.
It's gotten a lot better with the conversation back and forth. But I think we need to do better, right? And I think that's the question I've got to figure out how to answer.
I think one of the challenges of the profession when it comes to professionalism is the barrier to join the profession is not very difficult.
So that was brought up.
Because it's not very difficult, you have a lot of side hustles, hobbyists. You also have folks of different professional standards in the industry, where in other professions, the barrier of entry, whether it's 4-year degrees, graduate schools, or significant levels of certification, it's much more difficult to get in. Take the appraiser profession. Woody's watching the program, that's why I came up with appraiser. To become an appraiser, especially appraiser of his certification, it is hundreds of hours.
Sure.
I mean, if not thousands of hours.
Sure. And then you have to apprentice under somebody.
Yeah.
I think that
I mean, now you could have somebody take a 60-hour-a-week online class in their underwear in their house.
Well, that's
through one of the many online schools.
That sounds
go
like
take an in-person test.
From personal experience, maybe.
Go take an in-person test and then link and hook up with one of these online brokerages where your broker's not even in the market, and your broker may be managing hundreds of agents across a state. And not even know them.
Yeah. Well, that
really does happen.
Yeah, I know that happens, and it happens on a regular basis, and it's a model that's out there. But by state code, right, you have to hang your license, as you well know,
with somebody,
with a broker, right? Yeah. And the broker is ultimately responsible for your actions or lack thereof, right? So everything runs through the brokerage, regardless of the different models and all that kind of great stuff. So and I may be wrong, but once the appraiser is turned loose, there are some association and some oversight in it, but in theory, the broker is supposed to have oversight over all the transactions. And generally, there's a supervising broker, right? And you've got to have an office, and there's a whole process through that end of it. But to your point, it came up in this phone call with all these people. So do we need to look at raising the requirement, the thing? The problem with that is...
Go ahead.
Each state's different.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say.
I don't know. I don't think that's an achievable goal, right? So each state is different. Each state has its own different rules and regulations.
The accountability mechanism could be... how do I put this in
This
perspective?
is why, and I've been hard on NAR. This is not a secret, right? I've been hard on the National Association of Realtors.
Does the National Association of Realtors come out on the other side?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah?
It's just going to look different. But
how does it look?
That's a great question. If I had a crystal ball, I'd be able to tell you. I got one right behind me.
Would you join? Would you continue?
So it depends.
Membership.
So it depends on how they work through this. And to your point, I think the level of professionalism has really upticked in the last 6 months. I think you went a little further back than I would have gone back. If they take on this role, which is what they're doing now, right? They are doing this. They're taking on this role, and I think that's where the professionalism starts. So where there's a national association that you have to join, right, or you join and you sign up to their code of ethics, the question becomes, how is that enforced, right? And I think that's where there needs to be a little help, right? How this is enforced. And it's a fine-edged line there, Jerry, right? Because, you can't be too difficult.
Yeah.
Right. That I had an agent tell me, why would I spend the time, the hours and hours and hours and hours to file a thing? I'll just move on. Right. So that's a mentality. So we've got to make that process easier but we can't make it too easy that things become frivolous, right? So this is a big thing, but if NAR and the local associations, in my opinion, can figure out a way to make this work, maybe look at other associations that are similar to it, right? The bar and, so forth, AMA and stuff like that.
Then they're offering value. And then they will continue with
there's-
membership and continue being relevant.
I agree. Well,
If they don't figure this piece out, then you start talking about relevancy when it comes to the organization.
and so
They do have the data they provide, but the primary reason for the National Association
we've
of
been
Realtors,
around each other too long because I knew that's what I was going to
the
say.
primary reason for the National Association of Realtors, at least from my perspective, is the ethics the realtor are,
Well,
the
you-
campaigning and lobbying.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah.
Lobbying, right? Lobbying the profession.
Keeping it as a
Lobbying.
industry that was critical
Well, I think it's
during
more than
COVID.
I think it's absolutely, but it also lobbies the benefits of home ownership, right?
100%.
And there's multiple lobbying things that are really good. If it wasn't, again, I've been critical of NAR. I think they handled this about as poorly as you can handle it. I also think they've been redeeming themselves in the last 3 to 6 months on it since they got shocked, because that's what happened with the loss. I think they've been doing a better job. The bar was very low, right? So, but they're doing a better job. And look, lobbying the good, I love their statistics, right? Because we talk about it all the time. We're going to lose some of that, right? Because there's going to be some data that we're not going to have access to.
Why is that?
Well, it's the whole buyer broker side of it, right?
Yeah.
That's going to go away, right? But we're still going to get profiles of buyers, how the market is going and the trends on that end of it, and then the third part of this three-legged stool is what we're talking about is the ethics and the training, right? I think they need to grow that. The other two, I think they got nailed down. They need to grow that and make that leg a little stronger. I definitively have some ideas, but
How about the state association?
well, they're all tied together, right? So
Gary Palmer, we love when you watch the show.
it all works downhill or uphill, depending on how you're looking at it, right? It goes up and it goes down, But and the way it's structured, for instance, the enforcement of this is going to land on CAR, and it's going to land on the Richmond Association. It's going to land on whatever other associations they have out there around the country to actually enforce this. So they're going to have to be more robust in their enforcement part of what they do.
Well, part of the
But I shout out the CAR, by the way, and back on this NAR thing, they are starting to put together these classes, and there's one on Monday, right, that they're doing real, about next steps and so forth and so on. So I've been, again, pretty critical across the board, but they have been stepping up to the plate, in my opinion, in the last couple of months.
Part of the accountability with CAR could be making the process of holding those accountable a little more, as you said. Did you use the word seamless?
Streamlined.
Streamlined. Less bureaucratic.
Yeah. So again, I'm just going back to this conversation I had, and
We've heard this from others.
Yeah. Well, the one I had yesterday, right, and prep for this thing in September, and I was the little guy on the totem pole, right? Everybody else was much larger as far as organization and number of people and so forth and so on, and they kept on landing on the question of, well, why is it so complicated? Does it have to be that? And I mean, Jerry, it's a tantamount to a trial. It goes that way. Now, I get that. If you accuse me of something, I want to be able to, address my accuser, right? But there should be some sort of way that this can be done at a lower level. Now, the answer that I'm getting back is broker to broker, agent to agent. And what I'm talking about is when it gets beyond that. For the most part, if I pick up the phone and say, hey, Jerry, you really shouldn't be doing this, or here's a coachable moment, or here's a teachable moment, Jerry's a pro, and Jerry's going to go, oh, darn it, you're right, I apologize. Or or Jerry's going to say, no, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about.
I would never do that.
Yes, you've done that
Never do
before.
that.
You've done that before. Not on air, but you've done that before. Or he's not going to respond. He's not going to choose to engage. He's not going to try to make this industry better. So what's the next step, coach? Right? And there has to be some sort of middle step that doesn't go full blown out. Because here's the reality of it. Agents are afraid of being blackballed. And I'm reciting what was talked about yesterday. Going to get blackballed. I'm not going to drop a dime on Jerry because I might have to do a deal with Jerry later on down the line, so forth and so on. So there has to be some sort of middle ground. And I think if we focus on that, we will continue this trend of increasing the level of professionalism.
Can we talk about any of the local storylines that have hit the news cycle?
Sure, go ahead.
Did you?
Sounds like we're done with real estate.
Do we want to talk the mobile home park?
I don't know what's to talk about. That there's an entity that put an offer on it. The Habitat's trying to raise money, which is not going anywhere. Right? They've got the signatures they needed, right? Because there's a state law actually the way this is set up, right? So they're going to get the signatures from that, so they can go and pursue it. I know they're not going to raise the money. They're not going to be able to compete the bid. And then whoever put the bid in is going to fulfill the contract and start moving forward.
So you think it's a done story?
Unless Habitat, the Land Trust, and all these can come up with a 7 or 8 million or 7, they have to match it.
They have to beat it because there's a penalty clause.
Yeah. So it's
to
$1.
get out of the first one.
So it's $1.
Well, we don't know what the penalty clause is.
Yeah, but do you think these nonprofits are going to raise $7 to $10 million?
They're asking the city for a bridge loan.
Yeah. I would be very surprised if they come up with that. Maybe I am wrong, and I've been wrong before, but I would be very surprised that
has happened in the past.
It has happened.
It's not a common occurrence.
It has happened in the past, but that's a big nut to crack. And then there's more money to come, right? That's just the acquisition side of it, right? Yeah, it's, I just don't, we'll find out. I just don't see that happening. I just don't see these, and I'm in the room, so I
know you are. That's why I'm asking.
I just don't see that happening. And I'm trying not to give too much
No.
away in the room. I just honestly, taking all my hats off, if the city's going to write a $7 or $8 million check, God bless them. Do they have a $7 or $8 million?
They have an affordable housing fund.
So, but how much is in that fund?
That's a great question. I would imagine this would be
It would either be
depleted.
It would either be not enough or depleted.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wanted, it came up in the Planning District Commission meeting on Thursday, or the Regional Housing Partnership Executive Committee meeting, which is a public meeting. It came up on it. I just, everybody's trying. It's just, I just don't see that money getting put together by the timeline. But we'll find out pretty darn quick.
Yeah, and if it goes the way we both think it's going to go, that becomes what?
What I want it to become, or what it will become?
What it will become.
Again, once we determine the who, that'll tell us the what. So at the moment, we're guessing who the who is.
Mm-hmm. You have a pretty good guess.
I have a pretty good guess.
Yeah.
I think it becomes what the zoning ordinance says it wants to become. New rewrite. And what you're thinking and what you're asking, going to ask next, is what happens to the people that are there? And unfortunately, they're going to get displaced.
Yeah.
And that is the whole reason why these nonprofits are trying to raise the capital, so it doesn't get they don't get displaced. And again, it may happen. I think if I was a betting man, I'd probably bet it wouldn't happen. But the people that are the entities that are putting it together have a proven track record, right? You know, Habitat, PHA, and all these, they know how to go ahead and get a project like that, develop it, and keep the residents on site. So there's a way to redevelop.
We saw it
that.
with Southwood.
Yeah, Southwood. Help me out, Jerry. Downtown Garrett. It's not Friendship Court. What is
It's
it's not called Friendship Court.
Timber.
I can't remember the name.
Garrett
of it.
Square, Friendship Court. Yeah.
Right. So they have experience there, right?
Yeah.
They go ahead and move that, and there's going to be because the land trust is part of it. There's going to be some for sale units in that project. Friendship, is that Friendship? I can't remember the name of it. I should know that as the chair of the.
I'm looking it up
of
right
the
now.
land trust. So these organizations have that. I mean, shout out to Dan
Kindlewood.
Kindlewood, thank
Yeah.
you. Rosenzweig and it was close. Timberwood.
Yeah.
You were thinking about a cocktail.
I was thinking about the local restaurant.
There you go.
We'll give Sunshine some love.
Yeah, Sunshine and Dan and all these guys, they know how to do this, right? The thing is you got to get that 7 to 8 million. Then you got to get the development funds to go ahead and develop it. You know, the first thing is to stop it, which again, I just don't think they'll get there. And then develop it and go in there. So this would be years down the road from making it happen. So on the city side of it, it would not only be this $7 or $8 million, it'd be more money because there would be more subsidy needed to go.
Right.
ahead and-
Right.
go ahead and
Okay.
do it.
So we're
And the question is that
the best use of
best
the money.
use of that money? Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. And they
We're-
get to make that decision.
Right.
I have an opinion, but they get to make that decision. I'd rather have them.
With the land trust,
I'd rather have
which
them-
I would say would be more effective.
Yeah, well, I think it would be, but you know, I'm jaded and
No. The land trust it would pay return would create return on investment for generations to come.
Absolutely, yeah. So
It's a no. It's a no brainer.
yeah. If I had $7 million, I could do a lot.
I mean, how much could you do with that?
Well, so just do the math. So if I'm doing, somebody do the math. So if it's costing the city of Charlottesville just a ballpark about $200,000 worth of subsidy, right? Because you got to buy something around. I'm doing simple math. Something around 425, 450, and I can't sell it any more than 225, 250 in that range. So let's call it 200 grand. So somebody takes 7 million divided by 200 grand.
What is that? 35?
I'm not smart enough to do that.
35?
It'd be 35 units.
Yeah.
That would be permanently affordable. That we would never have to go back.
That you would never have to go back for.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a no brainer right there.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
we
again,
could-
I'm partial to it. So
we do have a counselor.
35. Look at that. You did that. God
quick.
bless you. God bless you. I need a calculator to do that.
We have Counselor Payne who is pushing, and
Of course. Yeah.
and props to him for doing it.
You know, I think the world of him.
Yeah,
I think the
smart
world
guy.
of all the city councilors and all this stuff. I just think if I was sitting on the city council, as much as you want to make this happen, is that the best use? It goes back to the conversation we had the other day, the passionate thing I had about the land trust. If the land trust had a $10 million strike fund, we'd be like, there you go, right? But we don't. And it's frustrating to me because Maggie Walker in Richmond's got it. There's other land trusts around that are coming up in around certain states around us. They have that. I'm currently sitting in probably one of the wealthiest parts of the country, and
No
I
doubt.
can't raise $10 million, $20 million. I don't get it.
Well, you hit it last time you were on the show.
We don't have corporations.
Well, it's partly that, and there's also a boatload of nonprofits.
Yeah, that's always the
The
case.
donations are spread across many.
Yeah, and God bless them, and thank you for
I mean,
what
we had Counselor Snook say one time, if you're a nonprofit in this community, try raising the money yourself.
So that's what we're doing at the Land Trust. I just had a meeting with
With your executive director.
and the executive committee that we're going to stop asking. We're not going to stop. We're going to always ask for
You're
money.
going to find other sources of
but
revenue.
it is time to start looking outside of the local, state, and federal government for funds. And there's people out there, we just need to figure out a way to tell the story better
Right.
and get in front of them. But we've created the mousetrap. It works. It's just we need to now get funds on it. And we're getting phone calls all the time. Hey, Feifel, Belmont, hey, I'm willing to sell my house to the land trust so it stays permanently affordable. I just don't have the money to write the check.
Well, when you do it in that scenario, you're buying at market.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We're buying at market.
Okay.
We're buying at market. That's why I was talking about this 200,000, right?
Sure.
We're buying at market. I'm selling at that. We retain ownership of the land. Bingo, it becomes permanently affordable. But I got to buy it at market. And now I got to buy it at market cash, no contingencies, quick close. So that's why I need this huge pocket of funds. So we're calling it a strike fund. So we can go in and on open market buy units. The big difference between us and Richmond, by the way, there's a ton of vacant, delinquent, taxed properties. We have zero.
Yeah.
Zero.
Gary Palmer, we appreciate you giving the show props right there.
Thank you. Gary. Love to hear his thoughts on the fifth. But
Well, he's a broker.
His operation is a pro.
They run a tight ship.
and they are rocking and rolling and ready to go. I'm sure of it.
Johnny Ornelas, thank you
Hey,
for watching
Johnny.
the program. Joshua Tracy, hello. Thank you for watching the show. We love when the agents and the folks in the game are watching the program. Do you start that fund in conjunction with the Carr Foundation?
Yes, that's what we're doing. We're working with them. But look, I love Dave. I love
Dave
Greg,
Norris.
Greg Slater, and I also know because I'm involved with a bunch of nonprofits. They're in their structure phase, right? It takes 1 to 2 years to get it going. They're beyond that now. They're now moving into, I've got an executive director, we have to start raising money, but they're in the same boat, right? And so where I want to go with this is to be more of a partnership with them, that we start seeking, instead of them tapping into Jerry for money and I'm tapping into Jerry for money, we do it collectively, right? We got a better chance of pulling some larger sums of money instead of dividing this pie as the former mayor has indicated.
And he does a great job.
I'm sorry?
He does a great job.
I like Lloyd a lot. Lloyd, I've said this publicly and I will say again, he was the right person
For the time.
for the time.
Yeah.
He was at the right person at the right place at the right time.
And I think he's done a good job of and he says he doesn't care about his legacy or think about his legacy. I would bet he does. And I think he is.
Actually, I would take him on his word. I don't think he does, but I may be wrong. But I don't think he does. I think he walked in there to do a job. Most elected officials I know, they're honestly trying to go in there and
Do what's best.
do the best that they can.
Yeah. He's done that. He's 100% done that.
And they're passionate about their position. They put the time in. There's a very few that don't do that, but that's not the norm. The norm is they do that. I was having a text conversation. I'll leave his name out with Albemarle County Board of Supervisor, and just looking about what he was doing in his personal and professional life and what he was doing over at the county. I don't know where the man's found time to do it. It's a lot of work. To do that job right, it's 30, 40 hours a week.
Two other storylines for you that I think are right up your alley. Free Enterprise Forum highlights a letter from Ann Burroughs,
Yep.
the chief executive over at Carr,
Yep.
with the Albemarle GIS using outdated photography
Yep.
and its GIS when
Yep.
it comes to plots and houses and surveys.
So Ann is the president.
President.
Of that, and her term is up at the end of this year. And she, a little shout out to her. Can you imagine, because
Pictography was the word.
she was elected to be the president a year before this happened, before this decoupling. And having to have a plan, whatever our plan was, to be completely pivoted to this.
Oh, yeah.
My hat's off to her. I know for a fact she's puts a tremendous amount of time in that she probably wasn't planning on doing. So, great article, as always, with Neil. yes, I can't understand why they don't have current. It's not a difficult thing to do.
Right. When staff has that.
Yeah. So my hope is that a simple letter like that
We'll make a change.
draws some people, oh, we didn't know that was like that or something
it's
like
hard.
that.
Okay.
I'm giving the benefit
Yeah,
of the
okay,
doubt.
we'll give the benefit of the doubt.
But I will tell you, I know this world pretty well, right? This whole development building, GIS. I've been in GIS before they had photography, right? But never rely on the data. The GIS data, as far as tax data and stuff like that, you rely on that. But if you're relying on boundary lines, you're relying on topo. I've done projects where we preliminarily designed off of the topo on GIS and shot it and found out it was 15, 20 feet off.
Right.
Right? So never go, if it shows you where the lines are, that's not where the lines are more than likely going to be. The topo is probably not right on it. And the only way to really get all that stuff is to hire a surveyor and get an actual physical survey done. So what I don't want people to do is walk away and think
That's
GIS
the Bible.
is gospel.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
It is as far as data goes.
Yeah.
It is not as far as the imagery goes and lot line locations and even utility locations.
Still, if it's there, why not use it?
What? That being said, it should be accurate and updated information.
Right.
So it's a simple, I think that's just a simple, either they physically can't do it for whatever reason, or it's just somebody just didn't think of it.
The last tidbit I've been dying and asking you to
Dying.
commentary
Don't do
on.
that.
You're doing a great
Don't do
job,
that.
Keith.
Hey, it's 11:14. Got to go.
The Sean Tubbs highlights that the planning commissions of Charlottesville and Albemarle County have not had a joint meeting in more than 5 years.
We talking about marijuana? Yeah.
Albemarle County Planning Commissioners, Charlottesville Planning Commissioners
Yeah.
have not had a joint meeting in more than 5 years.
Yeah.
We talked about this on the I Love Seville show
Yeah.
a couple days ago. A planning commissioner then reached out to us after listening to the show and said, and this was an Albemarle County Planning Commissioner, and said, hey, Albemarle's trying. It's not us who's not keeping the joint meeting from happening.
So what I'm hearing is people are not playing in the sandbox nicely. Here's a question. When was the last time there was a joint council board meeting? That's a great question for Neil if he's out there.
Joint council board meeting?
Yeah.
Neil, are you watching? That is a great question. I would imagine, one of the elements that was
Because-
common
because-
ground for both of them could have been the courthouses.
Yeah. So from
Albemarle County Courthouse is in the city of Charlottesville.
a planning,
That's a great question.
yeah.
I would say, I would
There's
say,
a reason I asked it,
yeah.
because
I do see with my perch here at the studio, I do see supervisors in Albemarle County coming into the Mackla building and heading to the offices of a counselor in Charlottesville whose law firm is 30 feet from my studio.
yeah, but they need to follow the no more than two elected
Right.
officials rule,
Yeah,
right?
and they do.
Absolutely, hands
Yeah.
down. But that's
I do see that often.
That's right there. Yeah. So my editorial on that word hurt. My editorial on that is because Albemarle and Charlottesville are so intertwined, particularly like the urban ring,
They
UVA.
should be meeting all the time.
They should be meeting on a regular basis.
100%.
But the reason I asked about the elected officials, who controls the planning commission? The elected body.
Okay.
So the elected body could,
Encourage.
or direct, they actually could direct it, at the dais, either one of these bodies could say, okay, we want you to meet quarterly, or we want you to meet every 6 months.
I found it perplexing. I found it
But
flabbergasting.
But let
We're
me
at a
ask-
time where we're in a housing crisis, and one of the jurisdictions, the city, just completely changed its zoning code. Revolutionized its zoning code, and Albemarle County completely engulfs or circles the city. and the commissioners haven't had a joint meeting in more than 5 years?
So-
I mean, that's a story.
So the reason I pushed hard to create the regional housing partnership was somewhat of an answer to this.
Yeah, for communication and transparency.
So each one of the jurisdictions are there. They're not the full bodies, but each one of the jurisdictions are there. And there is, at that environment, and we meet quarterly, the executive committee meets monthly, there is this communication that we do this roundtable. But here's the thing. So if we're following this logic, then how come the Planning Commission of Fluvanna and Louisa doesn't meet? Because they've got a shared area, which is Zion's Crossroads, right? I think, personally, if I was sitting
It's a little territorial.
I don't think it's territorial. I just think it's good business.
No, I think why they don't meet is a territorial.
Well, it's because the two jurisdictions
Reaction.
are large, right? And the area.
I have been told that the Albemarle Planning Commission has tried to do this meeting.
So who drives this ship is the elected bodies. So if the elected body for Albemarle County and elected body of City of Charlottesville, was the reason I actually, when was the last time they met, says, hey guys, we want you to do this on a regular basis, then you do that. And he'll be the pushback. Too much work on staff. We don't have enough staff time. How we're going to do this? What's the agenda going to be? So forth and so on. I come from the perspective, talking more and communicating more is better. Wrapping it back in
That's business.
to what's going to happen on the 5th.
Right.
This is all about communication. This is all about how I am going to communicate to my fellow real estate agents and how they're going to communicate with us. I don't really care if it's in the MLS or not. The thing, I'm going to communicate. And if we can't communicate, how are we going to help people? So the level of communication will get better. In my opinion, and I'm not trying to make more work for planning commission members and volunteers and staff and all this stuff. But logically, as tight as the density is, it would make sense, I think, for these folks to meet regularly. Even if it's just every 6 months.
Right.
Or once a year.
I say once a quarter.
Yeah.
Once a quarter.
Yeah, but I know their workloads. That's a lot. That's asking a lot.
Once
a
every
quarter.
90 days.
6 to 12 months. I would start with once a year, right? This is our agenda, this is your agenda, where are we common? How can we help each other? How can we work together on that level? Now, in their defense, planning directors do communicate with one another. So there is communication at the planning director level. That I know for a fact. But as a body, it's got to come from the elected. The electeds are the one that drive the ship. That planning commission works at the pleasure and the will of the elected body. There you go. There's my 2 minutes.
There it is
speech.
right there. You crushed today.
Yeah, look at that, 11:20.
You crushed it.
I gotta go take a nap.
You crushed it.
Look,
I have fun with you.
Yeah, I look. And
You're very good.
I'm not saying this just because, but Yasmina and Yvonne said the other day, will you guys stop your love fest?
Dude, you're great.
But I love this. I
Yeah.
love sitting across from you. I'm passionate about what we do.
Yeah, you
And I
love
doing
the
it.
area. I find that doing
I had a whole different show mapped out and planned for a week.
you can't help it if guests change.
Yeah, can't.
Live programming at its finest. That's what happens. And I find with
Hold
doing
on a second.
these shows that it
My life.
makes my knowledge of the area better.
Oh,
and
thank
it
you.
keeps me all the shows, and it keeps me
Oh,
more.
congratulations on. I think there was a new show.
We have a new one and a new one in the mix.
Good for
Another
you.
new one in the mix.
Congratulations.
Things are moving and shaking here. Anyway, we enjoy connecting with the viewership and the listenership. He's one of the principals of Yes Realty Partners. His name is Keith Smith. He's been in the game since 1987. Seen firsthand what Keith and Yona and Yes Realty Partners can do with helping sell homes and buy homes and getting you guys through the finish line that we call closing and buying and selling real estate. So Yes Realty Partners, a
And life.
personal endorsement.
Thank you.
and
That
life.
means a lot to me.
And Judah Wickhauer behind the camera. My friend, you're back next week.
Yeah. So my hope is,
Today's guest Next Friday.
Next Friday.
Well, that's what we hope.
That's what we hope.
Yeah.
That's our game plan. And the thing is on the 2nd, I was going to have this whole thing we did
The
today.
master class.
Master
We can
class.
still do it then if we need
Well, no. If the guest show, that's what we're
No.
going to focus on because this is going to be awesome, and I'm excited about showcasing these guys. So we can, at this point, what is in place is in place, and if it's on the 2nd or the 3rd,
Or the 9th, whatever it may be.
or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
Have a good day, buddy.
You too. Keith and Judah, my name is Jerry. It's Real Talk with Keith Smith online at realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. Click the Partners tab or look at them on the screen. These are the trusted businesses
Please,
you can
please.
count on for anything real estate related. They've been personally vetted by Keith, who again has been in the game since 1987. So long, everybody, and thank you kindly for joining us.
Thanks, guys.